I made a lot of jokes last night because Jalen Hurts
Yeah.
carries the ball a shitload on social media streets. And one thing in 2021 that the Eagles did for Jalen Hurts, because he was an inaccurate quarterback and he struggled to throw the football, is that about early on, I don't know the exact date when they made the move, but they basically transitioned their entire offense to resemble what he did with Lincoln Riley. And while Lincoln Riley and Caleb and those guys are throwing it a lot, I think a lot of people have this misconception that he's kind of like air raid. When you think just like throw the ball, spread it out. He runs the ball a lot, or did at Oklahoma, right? When he had star running backs and P. Ryan, Mixon, Trey Sermon, like running backs were a big part of his offense. And obviously the quarterback running with Kyler, with Jalen, have played huge roles in his offense. And that's what the Eagles did last year. And they ran him all the time with the running backs. And they ran a pretty, quote unquote, collegiate level offense that I see a lot of, on the social media streets with the Niners, people complaining that Kyle did with his quarterback. Even though Jalen, as a player, much more experienced playing at Alabama and then Oklahoma, and then Wally Pipping. Well, actually, he didn't Wally Pip. He literally just beat him out because Carson Wentz sucked. He replaced him, and he was just a better player. And ultimately, they got that year of running him. Now, he's a very instinctive player. Like you and I talked about this yesterday when we were there. You cannot watch Jalen, not even talking about how he's improved as a passer, but just as a football player. It comes very natural to Jalen Hurts, right? Just moving around with the football. It feels like a natural movement when he's scrambling or he's running. Why? He's been doing that his entire life, and he's very comfortable doing that. He did it against Alabama players in practice to now the Eagles in practice, and it works. But while they did this, clearly this year he came back and proved to them that, like, hey, I'm a much better thrower. And what did they do? They went out and traded for A.J. Brown. So now he has 2 wide receivers.
Can I interject for 1 second?
Go ahead.
I mean, they traded for A.J. Brown, and then he also became a much better thrower, right? It could be that it worked that way.
True, but I mean, he was hitting Devontae last night.
I'm just saying that, his receivers are gotten a lot better, infinitely upgraded when you add A.J. Brown. I mean, we watched the Titans last night. They looked awful without A.J.
Brown. They look terrible.
Anyway, but it doesn't
matter. I
mean, player. Whatever. No one ever goes, you're 68% completion guy, but you've got good receivers. It doesn't matter how you do it.
100%. So whether AJ's on the team or not, like, he clearly is just throwing the ball right now with more confidence. And they got here by running a quote-unquote remedial collegiate offense early on in his career, and they are transitioning out of it, as he's proving, with improved players on the outside, right, to be a more competent thrower. So it's almost like teams will put training wheels on a guy that they believe in to just ultimately get to where you can remove the training wheels and let them ride the bike.
I feel obligated to play somewhat devil's advocate here a little bit, in that putting training wheels on the guy doesn't mean you believe in him. It just means this is our best option right now, right? Let's see what happens.
Okay, you rephrase it that way. Put training wheels on the offense, because that's the only way to get the bike to the destination.
Yeah.
And it did. It got them to 9 wins, and they made the playoffs. But remember, in the playoff game, because against Tampa, you can't just run it against Tampa Bay. And that's going to be interesting this week, Tampa against Green Bay. What does Green Bay want to do a lot? They just ran for 200 yards against the Bears. That's kind of their offense. Run those guys and then throw off there. So Jalen couldn't throw against them, and they got housed. I know technically they kind of had this fake comeback, but they got worked in that game. It does feel, watching him early on this season, because of
his third year in the league,
improving, third year in the league. But remember, he kind of essentially redshirted as a rookie. He got to play a little at the end when Carson Wentz got kicked out and became the full-time starter as a second-year player. And as a second-year player with a lot of collegiate work, was nowhere near good enough as a passer. And still, I mean, obviously I'm comparing the Trey Lance situation. Trey Lance has an infinitely stronger arm than Jalen. Like, Jalen does not have a strong arm. Trey is a much more physically gifted passer, but clearly Jalen's accuracy, he's a third year, Trey's a second year.
You say that. I don't know if I would have felt that way. But I'm basing that off Jalen throws, I think, a really nice deep ball. Maybe you see it. Where does it show up? Does it show up for you there, or it shows up for you in, like,
yeah, I mean, Trey can throw the
throws?
deep ball for it. I just think he's got, let's just say pick a number. Trey's throwing 90. He has a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Jalen's probably 92.
Yeah. But I feel like
I know the Eagles.
the
Eagles don't view his arm as like
an elite
plus.
Yeah. Interesting. I think part of this too, and Troy Aikman said it last night at the end of the broadcast, because that game on Monday night for Jalen Hurts was a fantastic game, right? It was a great game. It was like, it wasn't Tua's game today, but it was
one of the highlights of his young career, right?
And Troy's thing at the end of the game was, okay, he's got to keep doing it. Let's just see. Like, this league is about doing it over and over and over and over again.
Cowboy
hater. Maybe that's what it is. I mean, 30, what was he? He was 26 of 31. That's 84% for 333, a touchdown and a pick. Week 1 against the Lions, he was 18 of 32, which is 56%. So, he's played 2 games. One was not good. One was really good.
How many rush attempts for the young man? Because when I watch Jalen Hurts, I go, they are relying on his legs still a lot.
So
17 in the first game, correct?
Well, PFF gives us like designed run, like run plays versus scrambles. So he's had 15 total. He had 8 in the first game and 7 last night.
Like a zone read or a run with Jalen Hurts.
So it can either be like a called run. It can be a sneak. It can be a zone read that you keep, that type of thing. So those were his. I gotta find his scrambles. So he's basically split it. He's got 14 total scrambles this year and 15 designed runs this year.
So he has ran past the line of scrimmage, designed or scrambled almost 30 times.
That's right. Yep. The first game he did it 17 times, and then last night he did it 12 times.
Which clearly he's improved a lot as a thrower. I would say even from last year, his best skill, which is I would say one of the better skills in the NFL at quarterback, like his running ability is pretty potent. Correct?
Yeah, I would say very potent. Like it seems to me when he runs, it's kind of like I'd put it in Kyler. I don't know if the game slows down when Josh runs. Josh Allen, you know what I mean? But it feels like the game slows down when Kyler runs for Kyler. It feels like the game slows down for Jalen when Jalen Hurts runs. Do you agree with that? Like when Josh runs, it feels like he's just trying to get point A to point. As far as I can go is where I'm going.
Yeah.
Josh Allen.
He's like a Hummer.
Jalen Hurts is like not in a rush, right? Kyler is not in a rush. Kind of the way Russell used to be.
Yeah.
Especially behind the line of scrimmage, like not in a rush. And I would say that is dangerous. I don't know if you saw the stat.
He's kind of got, in a weird way, they're different people, some younger Russell Wilson vibes. Russell had a more powerful arm.
But it's the body, I think. It's like the compact body.
Yeah, compact body, very under control. He never looks like a shitty play. He just kind of hops back up. They really like his just confident demeanor and not in a cocky way, but like an inner belief that they kind of fell in love with early on. And that's, when the Wentz thing happened, like he was just ready. And last year, even through the ups and downs, it was like pretty unfazed. And you think about it, like, why would he be unfazed? Who taught him? I don't know, Saban. I mean, there is something to be said, like learning at that school, right?
Well,
just
remember the video, at Alabama, Lincoln also, and you remember the video of him squatting 600 pounds or whatever it was that was
in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, I think we'll get forgotten about that video is, he hadn't played a game at Oklahoma yet. Like he was still really new at Oklahoma. The whole team gathered around him, cheering for him, watching him do that, right? So in some ways, he really stepped into a good spot because Carson Wentz's MO was not guy who the whole team stands around and supports.
Well, do you remember part of his Alabama career that the way the chapter basically ended was, didn't Tua get hurt and he had to come back in the game? Remember that? In the Final Four?
You're saying Tua got hurt. So he got
replaced.
Right. Yes.
He got replaced.
That's right.
And he was the backup, but something happened to Tua. He comes in, he leads them.
Was that the year Tua got his hip ripped, or was that the
no?
Next year
that was Mac Jones. So it was the
right.
previous year when Tua became the starter. and Jalen was the backup, but he handled it like a pro. And then something happened to Tua either in the SEC championship game or the Final Four of the first game. Jalen comes in, they're losing, and leads them to a couple touchdown drives, and it's awesome. And I'm pretty sure Tua then even played in the national championship game, because that would have been against Clemson, the one Trevor Lawrence beat him in. It was the SEC championship game, against Georgia.
Thank you, Joe.
Might have been Florida. I forget. I mean, it's just...
So is Jalen Trey or Jimmy? I can't tell from that analogy. He's both.
Yeah,
both guys.
Well, he's not as. I mean, Jalen doesn't possess the physical skills to ever get drafted as high as Trey. Jalen's physical skills from a thrower were viewed Jimmy-ish why he went in the second round. Because he, as a runner, honestly, where I was wrong, I thought hey, I don't think this guy can play quarterback. I've watched him throw at Oklahoma. I knew a lot of buddies that did. They didn't like him that much in the NFL. But his running skills, could this guy just be an NFL running back? Just like a starting NFL running back? Because clearly he is a dominant runner of the football. Dominant.
Yeah.
That'll
get you dragged on the internet, John. Watch out, Bill Polian. Was that his take?
It was Lamar. It was Lamar. But Lamar was much more highly thought of than this guy as a thrower.
Yeah, Lamar's a first-round pick.
32, though.
I understand. I'm just saying,
this guy was much more polarizing in the sense of a lot of people did not think he was a good player in college.
Yeah.
Relative.
They thought he was limited.
Yeah. Obviously he's a good college player. You know what I mean? From a prospect standpoint.
Yes.
You don't start at Alabama and Oklahoma. He's had a pretty fascinating career.
His football life is good.